Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Welcome to I Am Home, the Home Life Best Life podcast. I'm Tyler Weiskup, joined by my co-host whose vibe is warm and snug as a bug in a rug. It's Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Becca. And our other co-host, she doesn't just tie the room together, she ties the whole show together. It's Hilary Waltemath.
Hey.
Hi, Hilary. This month, our theme is going to be doing it this year. I'm really excited to talk about all these subjects that we've got. And today's special topic is rug resolutions. We've got a special guest here, Kathy. We'll introduce you here in a second. But this episode is really exciting because we're going to be talking about upgrading your style, adding personality to your space, cozying up a room, all those kinds of things that a rug can do. So excited to get into that. But before we do, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. And you can learn more at nfm.com. And welcome to our special guest, Kathy Cowles.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you back. We talked to you before about gardening,
right?
Landscape appeal, and you were so fantastic that we're like, figure out a way to get you back on here.
Thank you. That's nice. Nice of you to say.
Of course. I will introduce you quickly in case you people don't know about Kathy. You've been with us. Kathy, can you remind us how long you've been with us?
I've been here 5 years.
5 years.
5 years in August. So
yeah. And you've been in area rugs the whole time.
I have.
Yeah. Did you have much experience with rugs before then?
So I did not have a lot of experience. I draw my experience from I don't want to say success, but from my previous vocation was working in landscape design. And so a lot of that color, form, texture, shape transfers to area rugs.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how I base things on with my customers too.
Awesome.
And so
leapfrog into this new career that you've got going on. So again, so excited to have you here. I think a natural place for us to start when we're talking about rug resolutions is why area rugs matter, because there's like the style component, which makes a lot of sense, but that's not the only reason that people want to have area rugs in their home, right?
So area rugs are important. You're right, for a couple of reasons. It does make your house a home, and I know maybe that sounds cliche, but it does make your house a home. You can transfer your personality into an area rug, whether it's colors, traditional, transitional, modern, doesn't really matter. Not sure why anybody would go anywhere else for an area rug. And I'm being serious because we have over just here 1,000 to look at and the sales folks down in area rugs can help you be successful in your home to make your home you.
Yeah,
For real.
absolutely. The idea of like finding a rug that matches the person, matches the room, matches the space, all those kinds of things. Right. So beyond the aesthetics, what are some of like the practical benefits of area rugs?
So it helps to, if we have a lot of folks coming in that have just redone and have wood floors in their home, and they come in and they'll say, oh my gosh, it's so echoey in there. And so it helps to lessen that, make it softer. It makes a room within a room.
You could define the room. Like, if you have like a big open space, you can define it.
Right.
So things aren't just floating.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's more that open concept. Right?
Correct. And so area rugs in each space just kind of anchors each space. So
absolutely. So this idea of defining spaces, and it's especially important because of the, like we said, the open conceptness of where a lot of houses have gone, especially in the last decade plus.
Right.
What role does a rug play in creating kind of that cohesive look for a room? How would you when you're making that pitch to people who don't get it, what do you say?
First, I say step outside of your comfort zone. Not everything has to be matchy. Not everything has to be the exact same color in every single room. And just let your salesperson, because they know what they're talking about, let them help you identify what's right for your home. And we don't get offended if you say you don't like what we're choosing for you. Then we'll just move on to something else. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea that like having somebody to guide you through the process certainly is super important, and like helping folks understand what the selection is that we have to offer, as well as like how to kind of match it with
yeah, most people when they come in have no idea what they want, and then we help them know what they want.
Yeah.
Well, and just like everything, like area rugs have evolved over time too, and there's a million like natural fiber versus printed versus hand knotted versus machine made. Like it's not just going in and picking one out because you like the color or pattern, but they're like,
what kind of traffic is it going to see? Like, what, there's a lot of other
the pile and the feel and like that. It's
and that's part of the process of like being able to talk to somebody. Yeah, you can pick out a pattern that makes a lot of sense that you're like, oh, this really jives. But being able to understand all of those components is the benefit of a salesperson for sure. But what would you say, if we're going to back up 50,000-foot view, what is like the biggest mistake people make when selecting a rug for their room?
Not knowing the size. And so that's where we come in and we help people know the size. Most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time, a lot of times customers come in and they want a small 5x7 for their living room. And we'll tell them too small, too small. No, I think it's the right size. And customer is always right. But when they leave, we know that it's not going to be right. But so listen to your salesperson, but size is probably the biggest reason why folks bring things back, is because they'll go home and it's too small. They'll bring it back. It was too small. And so that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
Well, and it's deceiving too.
It
like
is.
the eyeballing it is not like an area rug.
You definitely, I think, need to know
doesn't work.
What size rug's going to fit your space before you come in.
Look like a postage stamp underneath your
And that's what it works out to in your living room. I hear all the time people have sectionals in their living room, and they'll look at our 8x10s. Oh my gosh, that's too big. Well, then I tell them, well, if you have a sectional in your living room, you can fit an 8x10 in your living room. And so then they kind of understand that it goes together. The sizes go together. So
and if you don't have like some furniture anchoring that rug down, either if it's not big enough to go under the legs of your sofa or whatever, like it's going to slide all over the place.
Correct.
You're going to be chasing it around.
So
so that picking out the right size. I mean, you gave a pretty good rule of thumb there. If you've got a sectional 8x10, it's going to be
at least.
What are like the typical guidelines that you help people? I know that we've got like a size guide we walk people through. Is that typically what you go to when you're helping people kind of pick out the size?
So we do. We'll show them our diagram. 5x7s usually are for like dinette sets, things like that. Maybe a kid's small bedroom, things like that. But the most common rugs that we sell would be the 8x10s, because most of the time people are coming in for their living rooms. And for their kitchens, their dining rooms, and most of the time for like six seat dining sets, it's going to be an 8x10, and then people are in for their bedrooms. And if it's a queen size or a king size, needs to be at least an 8x10 or 11. At least bigger is better. So
I think that's also a good rule. It's like always, I feel like if you're debating between like a smaller rug or a bigger rug, if it fits in the room, the bigger one's always going to be. It's just not gonna. It's gonna look more in proportion.
Well, and what I actually tell my customers, I'll tell them if you're debating between an 8x11 or a 9x13, when you get the 8x11 home, no amount of pulling it is going to make it bigger.
Right.
So, and I tell them that, and then they understand, and so then they go with the bigger one. So
some of them think they can go home and they're just
stretch it, get it a little stretch.
It's never going to get bigger. So
you don't want to do that.
So speaking of like this idea of like getting the right size, placement can be important too. Like what kind of tips or rules do we typically have around, like we talked about underneath bedding sets. We talked about underneath living room sets.
Mhm.
Like, how do you typically advise someone who's like, well, how does it fit?
So a lot of times we'll ask folks, do you have a picture of the space? Most of the time people do on their phones. And so we go by that. And then it'll just be from looking on their phones, 8x10, 8x11. We know that with, say, in a bedroom, if a customer has a king or a California king, we know for sure 8x11 is the appropriate size, but bigger is better. So we just know from experience what size is going to work for the customer. But the customers also need to know, say in the dining room, they need to know if it's a 6-seater, I would always recommend either a 6x9 or an 8x10 underneath there. But if it's a small dinette area, maybe they can't fit that size. So we tell them, go home and measure. Go home and measure first, because returning rugs is
It's a
a
pain.
pain.
Yeah.
It's a pain because they're heavy. So we
Yes.
go home and measure. So we want them to be successful.
Yeah,
So
appreciate that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about some of the practical stuff. Let's get into more of like those design questions. We've
Okay.
touched on some of those already. How do you help people who are looking to kind of like define their style through the use of a rug?
So a lot of times you can tell a person's style and colors that they like by what they're wearing, actually. But you also know by just talking to them. A lot of times customers come in and they'll say, well, my walls are gray and my countertops are gray, so I want a gray rug. And so we will try and help them. We can accommodate that, but I like to put color into rooms, even if you're doing a black and white room, which is really, really cool looking. Why not add a little bit of green or blue into there and really make the room unique, even more unique, with just a little bit of color.
Yeah, you need that like point of interest. Like black and white can be really cool, but you need something in there to draw your eye to something. And like rugs can be a great way to introduce just color.
It's like artwork on your floor. It
Definitely.
is, and it's artwork on your floor, and then the wood floor around it is sort of like the picture frame, kind of, sort of.
Yeah,
and that's what
for
I tell
sure.
people. So
I like that. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
So are you typically in like kind of the narrowing of helping kind of finding a customer the right type of rug? Are you looking at style before you're looking at like the rug type, or do you like rug type first? Once we figure that out, then we can kind of find the best personality for a rug.
Most of the time I'm doing rug type first. I'll ask the customers, is it a busy home, kids, pets, that kind of thing. Then I know not to steer them towards, excuse me, all viscose rugs.
Yeah.
Rugs that are more, sorry,
You're
that are geared more toward wool or wool blends or polyester, things like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, then we get into the different styles, different looks, that kind of thing. And a lot of times too, customers will come through and we'll let them kind of look for a little bit. And once they start picking a couple, then I know what they gravitate towards. And then we can help them even further that way.
Yeah.
I also think it's nice too, because like you can see there's a ton to look at in our rug department, but like the way the showroom is set up, there's rugs underneath like every set. So you can see what it really looks like in a room. And if you're worried about size and whatever else, like go take a look. You'll be able to, that'll help you visualize, even if it's not your own room, like what, a sofa and a love seat or a sectional, like how big it really needs to be and what it looks like in a space.
Correct. And we take people across the way to dining a lot, because we'll show them the 6-seater dining set. And so here's a little 5x7. You can do it, but then your chairs will never be on the rug when you pull them out. Then you're going to ruin your floor when you pull your chairs out. So
tripping over it, like getting caught, and then the corners start to curl.
Right.
Yeah, I think as someone who, my last kitchen runner, I chose purely on like aesthetics. I like the color and I like the pattern. What is a natural fiber rug? And while I love the look of it, we are constantly vacuuming up fibers, and I'm committed. Like I'm going to keep it until we have to get get rid of it, but my fiance is like, no more of these rugs, please.
So you bring up a good point
Uh-huh.
too. So I don't know if you have a wool rug, but wool. So when you talk to your salesperson, they'll tell you that wool rugs, not all of them, but a good majority, when you buy wool, it sheds.
Yeah.
And
For a while.
and some worse,
Eventually,
yeah,
it
some
stops.
worse than others.
Yeah.
But you're right, 3 to 6 months,
Yeah.
it'll shed.
Yeah.
And when you vacuum, believe it or not, less is more. So if you can get away with vacuuming once every couple weeks, that's better than all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
So don't do that.
yes, I'll tell him maybe to cut down on the vacuum.
Yeah, because that's actually worse.
contributing to the problem. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We'll just
Mhm.
vacuum around it.
Yeah.
I love talking about like the different kinds of, I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but the different kinds of rugs, like we said, wool, there's synthetic, I mean, do you typically advise somebody who's like looking at one or the other, like what are the kind of questions that you typically are asking them when they're trying to make that decision? Because I mean, wool is great, but like, if you don't, if you're a vacuumaholic, like
Like Davis, yeah.
it might not be the right choice. So like, what kinds
Right.
of questions are you typically asking?
But not all wool rugs are bad. So we'll just put that out there. Not all of them are bad.
Yes.
So a lot of it is just how they're going to be used in the home. And also just a lot of it dictates what price point
Yeah. I was
folks
just gonna say that.
want, because we have things from 500 to I think our most expensive is 6,000, and it just all depends on what they want to use it for. If they want a rug that's going to last for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, then I'm going to show you some really, really nice wool rugs. I have 2 in my house and I love them. But if it's a young family that has 3 kids and 2 dogs, probably not the best choice. So I would steer them more towards maybe a wool blend or a polyester. Even some polypropylene rugs are good, but then they need to know it's only going to last
Right.
3,
It's
4,
more
5
disposable.
years.
You're
Correct,
not buying
correct.
something you're going to keep in your
Correct.
house for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a wool rug, and we didn't realize that our cat really likes to scratch that. And so that's our constant battle with her. So
We tell people actually with wool rugs when they come in and they love this rug, and we ask, do you have dogs? Yes. And if it's a looped rug, we tell them it's a nice rug, but you're going to be sorry down the road because their claws are going to.
Yeah. Pull up all the loops.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So then we
Mhm.
steer them towards something else. We want people to be successful.
yeah,
We just do, you know.
yeah. So that's why my rug looks like
Yeah,
that.
It's
sorry.
extra loopy.
Yeah.
It's almost shag rag now.
No, it's loose. It's fine.
Yeah.
We only hate her a little bit.
Oh, poor cat.
Are there any going back to this idea of like pops of color? You brought like some visual aids here.
Did.
When people are trying to like figure out like what am I gonna do with a pop of color and
Right.
and I want to do it through a rug, like do you gravitate towards certain colors or certain set, like what's it's hard. This is always a hard question, but I feel like it's one of those ones where like if we can give people some general guidance around, it may help them in their planning before they come talk to us.
Well, so I always ask customers, what color are your walls? What kind of accents do you have? And do you have any really cool paintings on the wall, any artwork on the wall? And then they'll show me on their phone. If they can't show me, they'll sort of describe it. And then you kind of think about your color wheel and what could complement things like that. And then you go to the rugs. Well, do you like something like this? And the first couple that you show them, if that's not what they're looking for, then you know to go to something else. People in general are unfortunately afraid of color.
Yeah.
And color is just so much fun because then you can accent on your walls.
Yeah.
And color, it's such an inexpensive way to make your room totally different, but without knocking down walls. It's I love rugs.
It's easier to do than
I have a
you-
problem.
but it's easier to do than you think.
That's right.
Right. I mean, the way that you're making it sound like
It is.
take a visual scan of your room and like what are the dominant colors, and maybe that way you can
Right.
lean into that a little bit, and what colors will naturally go with that. It might be an easier way for folks to do it than maybe to, like, if I buy this rug, I got to redo this whole room, I got to repaint the wall, I got to do all these things.
Right. And that's not the case. We're here to help you incorporate into what you already have.
Yeah. Make it easy for what you
right,
are actually
right.
dealing with.
And something else that's really good that NFM has on our website is if you type in area rugs and you type in a SKU number, there's a see it in your room application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell my
Visualizer.
customers that all the time. Don't go home with something that you sort of like. Put it in your room, see if you really like it. If you don't, then that's not the rug for you, and I'll help you again when you come back. So it's a super, super good application.
Okay.
Mhm.
I got 2 more questions.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll get to them. First one is about trends. Like, what kind of things are you seeing that are like new and now?
So for a long time, it was grays and blacks and grays and blacks. And so now it's starting to come in where people are doing more greens, more rust colors, more golds, that kind of thing. So when I said before people are afraid of color, slowly but surely people are starting to be accepting of, I need to get some more things of color in my room. So that's probably the biggest trend. And then really that's the biggest trend that I see, is that color is starting to make a comeback.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. As far as like the materials and things like that, have there been like too many major developments and advancements that you've seen? I know, Hilary, we had an episode about like more of the performance fabric kind of stuff. Is that like translating a lot to like rugs?
well, so we do have a lot of washable rugs are a big deal now.
Yeah.
And we do have some. So we do have some washable rugs. And I think for an entry, maybe for a kitchen, that's
High
okay.
traffic areas.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people don't realize that when you get an 8x10 washable rug, you're not going to fit that in
No.
your washer. So you either
That's
need
like
to go
a-
to a commercial
yeah.
laundromat
Yeah.
or you have to take it outside and hose it down.
Yeah.
So
And they just look, not to be a snob, but they look like rugs you could put in a washing machine.
yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of like practical applications for that too.
And there
but
is.
it just doesn't, they just don't have that like cozy plush.
Yes, I feel like they're not plush.
I tell customers, I tell them it's okay when they're choosing between this one and this one. And I never pull any punches. If this one is not right for them and this one's perfect, I'll say, well, it's okay. I said, that one's a lot better. And it's never about price with me. It's about what's going to look better for their home. Because I don't want them to bring it back anyway. But I just don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here. I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think rugs, again, are a great way for you to, like, if you're talking about trying to figure out like how you want to do your home and like really lean into something this year, it's really an easy, accessible way to do it. And there's a lot of folks that here to help you, as well as like references across the web and elsewhere that you can find some of this.
well, and what I was going to say too is when people walk into our department, there's so many in such a small place. Don't get intimidated. Ask us and we'll help you.
Appreciate that, Kathy. Thanks for being here.
Yep. You're welcome.
Covered a lot of ground. That was a pun.
Yeah.
Did we?
Nice
We
job.
missed it. Yeah.
Nice job.
I also want to thank my co-hosts Becca and Hilary, our producers Ann and Scott, and I want to thank our listeners, of course, for liking, subscribing wherever you listen. Don't forget to visit nfm.com/podcast, where you can send us your questions. Again, free advice. This is an opportunity to ask us whatever you want, and we'll talk about it on the show. Bye for now, but remember, home is what you make it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.